Welcome to Painting with Jenny, brought to you by Project Mega. I am Jenny Tidland. Got into painting about 7 or so years ago when, this establishment opened. It was mostly just watching other people paint miniatures and stuff kind of got me intrigued to see if I couldn't do the same. I draw a lot, and so art seems to be a second nature to me. I think my favorite type of miniatures to paint, probably more of the fantasy, kind of the D&D kind of miniatures and stuff like that. There seems to be a little more being able to be creative with the color schemes and the way that they look. More of the Space Marines for 40K. Their armor is so boring. There's not a lot you can do with it. There are some people who can and who do. A lot of the ways that I end up finding the clientele or my customers and stuff is by, like when people come in to buy miniatures and stuff, I'll talk to them about D&D or all that kind of stuff, and they'll, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I also paint miniatures for, a small price if, you don't want to do it yourself or if you're ever looking to get your miniatures done. And other times, people just kind of find me because of, I either have offered my services in the past to one of their friends, or they overhear me talking about it, or, Roy also tells people that I paint miniatures too, so they usually come to me more so than me going to them. There are certain customers that I have had issues with in the past. Mostly on agreement of payment and that payment being either delayed or, not paid in a reasonable time. I thoroughly enjoy people paying up front. That's usually a good incentive for me to get their miniatures done a little sooner. On average, anywhere from $50 to $100.
A month?
A month. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. So far this year has been a lucrative year for miniature painting, though.
Paint?
Oh yeah.
Miniatures?
I would love to be able to teach people how to paint miniatures. I've had a few people in the past ask. Unfortunately, none of them have followed through, either because of work, weather. I'd probably feel most comfortable with around 5, but I think I could probably handle up to 10. Has come across my mind to charge people to show them how to paint. There's been people who have offered to pay me to show them how to paint. Right out of the first session, I probably wouldn't charge just because it's a learning experience for both myself and for them. It takes patience, time, and a little bit of a lot of bit of patience. In order to get a miniature to come out even a base color. Because the skin itself for these guys, sometimes you have to do 2 or 3 layers in order to get it to even cover up their overall base primer. It's never... For me, it's a good stress relief, but for some people, I've watched them get more stressed than anything else from painting. So if you feel like you're overwhelmed or anything like that, it's never a bad idea to just set it down, walk away. Maybe starting off with a relatively inexpensive miniature and, 3 or 4 base colors and go from there. Because he's super pretty, and I'm super proud of him. Uh-huh. My cameraman's dancing. It's weird. From a game called Relic Knights. Ninja Division is the company. I think my favorite thing about this miniature is that he is part of the Demon or Oni faction for the game. And ever since I was super duper little, I've been engrossed in the Japanese culture. So the idea of Onis and all that, the lore and all that kind of stuff is really cool and interesting to me. It's really, really, really difficult to paint angles. That's my one complaint. Do this big guy. I don't know. Yeah. The game is Hordes. The company is Privateer Press. I think my favorite thing about painting this miniature was probably the ability to test and to see if a technique that I had learned prior to me painting it would actually work. The time that went into it, I paced myself to give it so I wouldn't have it done in under a week. And I got really, really mad at myself for that because I realized that I had essentially had her all finished probably within about 3 days. But I refused to let myself be done with it in that time frame. I looked over it, I made sure I had other things that could have been done, things that got touched up. I probably rolled this miniature in my hand, easily thousands sometimes by the now. Oh God. The game is Warhammer Fantasy, which is now also called Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Games Workshop is the company that makes the game. Blood. The fact that I could make things so red and gory and bloody and have it stay completely within the themology of the army that this bat's a part of. The literal blood that went into it. I caught myself on the spine a few different times. Pretty much each of the 6 main wingtips, I think I almost poked myself in the eye a few different times. It's spiny and dangerous, and I loved every minute of it. Despite the literal blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. And the obvious touch-up and repainting that is currently going on with it. To hopefully not poke myself in the eye again, I'm gonna do that. My main thought is that I've named him Robin out of, the Batman franchise. Because when I was initially going to be doing stuff with the army, which is why I bought the bat to begin with, I was gonna make a Black Lantern army kind of idea with him. And I'm sad that I didn't have the money to actually go through and do the rest of the idea. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. But for the most part, once I get him all touched up and redone, I'll probably just get the theme based off back with him by itself and just have him as a cool showpiece. You can follow me on Instagram at Judge Litton. You can also follow me at projectmega.com. A big thanks to Dice Age Games for allowing me to use their space to paint.